Hi, sweet loves. Danny here. I wanted to come on and say thank you. My grandmother passed away on the 2nd of January, for those of you who don't know. But I have gotten an outpouring of sympathies and condolences and love and virtual hugs and all that kind of stuff. And I just want to take the time to say thank you. It meant the world to me, and it was definitely needed. It was a long process from when she passed away to laying her to rest yesterday. And I just really appreciate the amount of love that you guys have shown to me. It is humbling. It is unbelievable that you would take time out of your day to send all this love my way. So thank you a million times. Thank you. She passed away in the evening of the 2nd, and right after she passed, my brother and I went outside. She loved it outside. Matter of fact, for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, I was actually able to get her to wake up and talk with me, and one of the first things she asked was, what's it like outside? Is it raining? Is it cold? Is it wet? You know, like, she wanted to be outside. She wanted to know everything about outside. That's just the kind of woman she was. She was always out there, and my brother and I walked out and we were talking, and I said, you could already feel it. The second we got outside, I was like, oh, she beat us here. She was all around. And not 10 minutes later, my brother saw an owl flying into the trees across by the bayou, or river, if you don't know what a bayou is. And he was like, did you see that? And I was like, no, I didn't, because he was turned to talk to me. My back was facing it. But then I turned around a few minutes later, and this huge tan owl, beautiful white face, flew down from the tree, and it landed in the yard across the street. And it turned and it looked toward us, and it kind of stretched its wings a little bit, and then it took off and flew away. And I was so comforted to know that she was okay, you know? For my brother and I both to see owls in less than 5 minutes and in broad daylight, it was the perfect sign. And I will never forget it. We were able to see that among a few other things that night, my brother and I, while we stayed outside. But I know that she's at peace. And I will say, for the first time in my life, I've never been so sure that this is nothing but a vessel for the essence that we have inside. I've seen death before, but right now has been the first time that I feel like I understand that it is a transition more so than anything else. And I think it was because for the first time I was witness to the last days. I watched her be somewhat alert for very short periods of time. And then I feel like I watched the transition begin, in a sense that when I went the last day, when I got there that morning, I went in and I touched her shoulder and I said, hey, Ma. And there wasn't a movement, there wasn't a stir, there wasn't anything. And even when I couldn't wake her up, there was a reaction to a touch. And at that moment, I could feel that she had already started to leave. The best way I could describe it was that she was only tethered lightly to this place right before she went. She was no longer anchored in her body. And when she passed and I walked in, you could almost feel that the energy had been drained from the room. I walked up to her and I grabbed her hand, and I told her that I loved her, and it was just so clear at that moment that there was nothing but a shell there. It was almost indescribable. Like I said, I've seen death before, but nothing so long. When my grandfather passed away, he had a heart attack, and he was gone. There was no time to think. There was no time to react. There was no linger. He was here and then he was gone. And we had called the ambulance. They had taken him. It was different in a sense that it was so quick, whereas this really lingered. So it's like I almost feel like she granted me this experience, if that makes any sense, because I've never been so much in pain, but in so much peace at the same time. It's really hard to describe. I mean, it is. It's so hard to describe the whole situation, the whole feeling, but I was honored to be there with her and to be given the experience and to have been able to love and to grow up with such an amazing woman. She and my grandfather were like parents to me. I was there all summer long. I was there as a kid. My parents worked, so I was there in the afternoons. I was there during the summertime. I was there always. My grandmother took me everywhere. She took me camping. She took me fishing. She took me to all kinds of different places. And she was an avid card player. Her and her sisters played multiple times a week for forever. And they all started passing away. There are now only 4 left out of 15 children. 12 of which were girls. So all the girls would always get together unless they were living out of state at the time, which was rare. Only 3 really lived away. I think 1 passed away when they were young, but everybody else lived around. And I spent my childhood with these hilarious, joyful women. They taught me how to play cards. They taught me how to love. They certainly taught me how to laugh. And how to be so full of joy that you feel like you're gonna burst. And I'm grateful for every second I got to spend with her and all of them. And I will cherish any time that I get to spend with the last ones left. They were, and still are, an amazing group of people. All the stories I've heard of my grandmother have been nothing short of joy. No one can even remember her being mad, you know? She was so funny, and she loved to talk. She loved to listen. She loved to be engaged in a conversation. She told great stories. She laughed all the time. And it's so funny because we were going through pictures trying to find some for, you know, the paper and things like that. And I was like, ugh. Everything I come across, her eyes are half closed or her mouth's open because she was in mid-sentence all the time. All the time. And that's just the kind of person she was. So, again, I just kind of wanted to come on and say thank you for sending me the strength that I needed and still need, and that I still draw upon for this time. And, you know, I'm back in the swing of things today. But when I feel like it's time to stop and grieve a bit, I will do that. And having gone through this at the beginning of this year and thinking about where this year is going to take me, I have added a few things to my focus. So for her, I will laugh every chance I get. I will find the joy in life. I will move more and soak up every second the way that she did. I will love deeply the way that she did. I will actively listen. I will engage in conversation. I will fish more. I will play cards more. I will go outside and enjoy the day every day, rain or shine, the way that she did. Thank you so much for allowing me to come on and talk to you guys, and to thank you, and to be able to grieve in my own way. Talking it out and expressing this is a form of release for me. I'm her granddaughter, of course I'm gonna talk it out. So, thank you. And I'd like to ask one favor of you. Make a cup of coffee or tea or whatever you drink. And even if it's just for 5 minutes, grab your cup and go sit outside and soak it in. Just for Verna. I love you. Thank you for